Welcome to the Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up for the week ending November 1st, 2024. Today, we're covering some of the critical open-source intelligence stories shaping the global security landscape. We'll start by examining Canada's Cyber Intelligence Agency's latest report on China's pre-positioning in American networks, which could destabilize critical infrastructure in the event of a conflict. We'll also dive into the high-profile espionage trial of British ex-soldier Daniel Kalaif, accused of spying for Iran, a case that raises pressing questions about international loyalty and intelligence practices. Plus, we'll explore how Australia's Secret Intelligence Service is investing heavily to outpace advanced surveillance technologies, emphasizing the need for skilled human intelligence in an increasingly digital world. And these are just some of the insights and analysis you'll hear today. With Neil Bisson's 25 years of experience in national security and intelligence, you'll gain a deeper understanding of these stories and many more, offering layers of expertise typically reserved for insiders. So sit back and join us as we unpack the latest intelligence developments and their implications for global security.
Welcome back to the Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up. I'm your host, Neil Bisson. There's been some interesting insights into the realms of cyber and real-world espionage this week, so without further ado, let's dive into what's happening. Our first story deals with a crucial and timely issue impacting Canada and other democracies around the world: foreign interference and how our institutions are responding to it. We'll be covering the article titled "Foreign Interference Hearing Closes with Partisan Jabs and Policy Points," published by the Canadian Press. This story highlights the closing of the public hearings held by the Foreign Interference Commission last Thursday. In recent weeks, the Commission's public inquiry has focused on investigating foreign interference and evaluating the capacity of Canadian agencies to detect and respond to it. Representatives from public parties, diaspora groups, and human rights organizations presented closing submissions urging the government to improve its response through better regulation, education, and public transparency. From an intelligence perspective, the article underscores the complex nature of foreign interference, where adversarial nations can exploit loopholes and leverage misinformation to sway public opinion and disrupt democratic institutions. This is a challenge intelligence agencies worldwide are grappling with, as interference tactics continue to evolve. The current situation echoes past instances where interference campaigns targeted specific communities to prevent civic engagement or manipulate public sentiment. This is seen globally, with countries like the United States, Australia, and United Kingdom all witnessing similar foreign meddling attempts. The inquiry also raised an emerging concern: how foreign influence is increasingly embedded within domestic media through ownership stakes and influence over content. The inquiry brought forward voices from notable experts. Neil Bisson, representing the Chinese-Canadian Concern Group, shared that Canadians of Chinese descent face threats and harassment both here and abroad, aiming to silence their political views. Sarah Teach from the Human Rights Coalition called for a clear-eyed, victim-centered strategy against these types of interference, advocating for sanctions and resettling victims facing risks. Adding to these perspectives, Aaron Shull of the Center for International Governance Innovation highlighted filtered transparency, a phenomena where selected leaks and partisan uses of intelligence undermine public trust and benefit hostile state actors. He emphasized the need for real transparencies with appropriate safeguards, a challenging but essential aspect of effective public engagement on national security matters. As Canada's public inquiry on foreign interference concludes, it's clear that national security remains a delicate balance between maintaining transparency and protecting intelligence integrity. With the Commissioner Hogue set to release her final recommendations by year-end, these findings will reshape Canada's foreign interference policies in a profound way. You can guarantee that Canada's adversaries are already working on ways to circumvent and bypass any potential actions Canada's intelligence community is working on. The sooner we start to implement needed change to detect, dissuade, and deter foreign interference from state and non-state adversaries and threats, the stronger Canada's democratic system and the faith that Canadians have in that system will be. Moving on to the Middle East, where we'll be discussing the recent announcement by Hezbollah, which named Naim Qassem as its leader following the death of Hassan Nasrallah. The article titled "Hezbollah Names Naim Qassem as New Leader" sheds light on Hezbollah's response to recent Israeli strikes and what this leadership shift means for the region's stability. Hezbollah, the Iran-backed militant group based in Lebanon, has named Naim Qassem as its leader, after Nasrallah was killed in an Israeli airstrike on Beirut's southern suburbs last month. Qassim, formerly the deputy leader, has been with Hezbollah since its founding in 1982, making him one of the group's oldest members. His appointment highlights Hezbollah's focus on continuity in its resistance operations, as Qassim has pledged to keep the flame of resistance burning until Hezbollah achieves what it sees as victory against Israel. First, Hezbollah's leadership is now signaling a recovery despite the loss of two top figures, Nasrallah and Hasham Safieddine, who were both killed in targeted strikes. Secondly, Qassim's leadership could impact the organization's strategies, especially since Hezbollah has now openly supported Hamas' ongoing conflict with Israel. This indicates a regional alignment that strengthens the cooperation between Iran-aligned groups against Israeli interests. To understand this shift, it's useful to look at Hezbollah's historical and ideological roots. Founded in 1982 in response to Israel's actions in Lebanon, Hezbollah quickly grew with Iranian support into one of the most influential militant groups in the Middle East. Under Nasrallah's leadership, since the early 1990s, the group expanded its political power within Lebanon and its military capabilities, becoming a key player in the Syrian civil war. Today, the group operates as a significant proxy for Iran, committed to fighting Israel and countering Western influence in the region. The recent leadership change comes amid escalating violence. The Israel-Hezbollah war that erupted months ago has already seen significant casualties, with more than 1,700 deaths reported in Lebanon and dozens of Israeli military casualties. The conflict has created an atmosphere of heightened tensions and instability, drawing in regional actors on both sides of the conflict. Following Qassim's appointment, Hezbollah's Palestinian ally, Hamas, publicly praised the decision. A Hamas statement indicated the election is seen as a recovery for Hezbollah, which has seen its leadership targeted. Qassim has since made several public addresses signaling his intention to continue Nasrallah's policies, but with a more formal tone. His recent calls for a ceasefire have shown that while he may lack Nasrallah's charisma, he is working within political framework to establish Lebanon's parliament to seek a resolution. From my perspective, Qassim's appointment reflects Hezbollah's desire for stability during turbulent times. Yet, his approach may lack the same strong rhetoric influence Nasrallah wielded, potentially leading to strategic shifts as he adjusts to his new role. In summary, Hezbollah's appointment of Naim Qassim as its leader underscores the group's commitment to maintaining its influence in Lebanon and the broader Middle East, even in the face of significant leadership losses. As we move forward, Qassim's impact on Hezbollah's policies and alliances will be worth watching, especially as the region conflict escalates. Our next story involves allegations from Canada's Communication Security Establishment, or CSE, about India's escalating use of cyber technology. According to the report, India is not only tracking Sikh activists abroad, but also intensifying cyber attacks against Canadian government networks. This comes amidst already strained diplomatic relations following Ottawa's accusations that top Indian officials were involved in the killing of Canadian Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Vancouver. The main story here centers on claims that India is deploying its cyber capabilities to surveil activists and dissidents residing abroad, specifically Sikh separatists. Canada's Sikh community is one of the largest outside of India and has strong support for the Khalistan movement, which advocates for an independent Sikh state. This movement, while considered fringe in India, has significant backing from Canadian citizens. The CSE also highlights a series of recent cyber attacks attributed to pro-India hacktivist groups. These groups allegedly launched denial of service attacks on Canadian websites, including government and military sites, flooding them with traffic, so effectively shutting them down. From an intelligence perspective, these activities point to a broader trend in the use of cyber tactics for foreign interference. In recent years, cyber warfare has become a go-to strategy for many states seeking to project influence and control abroad. Canada's Deputy Minister, David Morrison, testifying before the National Public Safety Committee, confirmed reports that India's Home Affairs Minister, Amit Shah, authorized a campaign targeting Canadian Khalistan activists, allegedly reaching as high as the Prime Minister's office. This disclosure has serious implications for both countries' intelligence communities, especially as it mirrors similar tensions with other nations where cyber tactics are being used as modern tools of geopolitical influence. Caroline Xavier, the CSE chief, provided a clear warning that India is emerging as a cyber threat actor. The intelligence community in Canada has been alert to these threats for some time, but this recent escalation represents a significant shift in India's approach. From my own professional experience in intelligence and national security, I can say that such sophisticated state-sponsored cyber campaigns are becoming increasingly common. They offer countries an effective means to control narratives, intimidate dissidents, and even execute covert operation without the need for a physical presence. For Canada, this raises some serious concerns, and now we must protect ourselves not only from physical threats, but also from the advanced wave of cyber attacks. This highlights the complex and often hidden world of cyber espionage and foreign interference. As Canada works to protect its citizens and maintain national security, the need for a resilient cyber defense has never been clearer. We can anticipate more diplomatic friction and retaliatory measures potentially affecting trade, security, and foreign relations. We now move on to the UK, where we'll be discussing an article that takes us into the courtroom where former British soldier Daniel Khalif faces serious allegations of espionage. The case centers around claims that Khalif spied for Iran and made attempts to escape authorities. With first-hand statements from Khalif and a closer look at the alleged motives and methods, this story brings us new insights into the modern espionage challenge. The case of Daniel Khalif has captured international attention. As he took the stand, Khalif described himself as a patriot who reached out to Iranian intelligence with what he claimed was a fake level of information, allegedly to expose Iranian operatives working in the UK. According to Khalif, he approached Iranian agents through social media, making a connection that led to a secret dead drop exchange of £15,000 in a London park. While Khalif maintains that he was working to deceive Iran, prosecutors allege he was actively gathering sensitive information and posed a significant threat. Khalif's testimony raises essential questions about loyalty, personal motives, and intelligence operations. From an intelligence standpoint, cases like this underscore the complex web of motivations and backgrounds that can complicate identifying threats, especially when personal grievances or financial incentives intersect with espionage. Khalif's background, his mixed British and Middle East heritage, a history in the British Army, and frustration with restrictions based on his ethnicity, paint a picture of someone who may have felt both loyal and alienated at the same time. His choice to approach Iran's New Horizon organization, an entity sanctioned by the United States, reflects a concerning alignment with hostile foreign powers, even if only to expose them, as Khalif claims. We've seen cases before where individuals have expressed similar sentiments surrounding disillusionment or desire to demonstrate capability in the intelligence realm. He asserts his actions were not espionage, but rather an attempt to expose threats against the UK. In reality, these claims, which are conveniently difficult to verify, pose a critical question. Could his supposed deception plan be a convenient cover for actual espionage? Given previous cases such as Cameron Orris, a Canadian RCMP intelligence manager who was arrested and convicted for trying to sell secrets to international criminal gangs, Khalif's excuse of trying to work undercover without sanction is a thinly veiled lie, used to excuse him and his treacherous actions. The case against Daniel Khalif reflects the blurred lines that can exist between patriotism and espionage, as well as the potential danger posed when individuals decide to operate independently in intelligence. Whether or not Khalif's motivations were as pure as he claims, the allegations have raised significant concerns for British and international intelligence services. As the trial unfolds, it may have set a precedent for how cases with self-initiated espionage have been handled. Looking ahead, we might see increased scrutiny of social media contacts and self-styled intelligence operations, as well as a re-examination of recruitment policies within the military and intelligence services. Sticking with the theme of insider threats in the military, our next story deals with a young National Guard airman who pleaded guilty to leaking classified Pentagon documents. The story, titled "Prosecutors Push for 17 Years Sentence for Pentagon Leaker Jack Teixeira," outlines the unprecedented security breach and its implications for U.S. national security. Teixeira reportedly shared hundreds of classified files, including sensitive information on troop movements in Ukraine and intelligence on the Israeli Mossad. Prosecutors argue this is one of the most significant violations of the Espionage Act in U.S. history. With the top-secret clearance, Teixeira's role in cyber defense operations meant he was entrusted with information critical to the U.S. and Allied security. From an intelligence perspective, this case sheds light on the potential risks of insider threats within military and government ranks. Intelligence agencies globally rely on rigorous clearance processes to safeguard classified information, yet insider threats like this still challenge our security frameworks. Teixeira's case only highlights the risk inherent in digital communication platforms like Discord, where sensitive information can be disseminated broadly and quickly. This incident is part of a troubling trend of high-profile leaks in recent years, reminiscent of cases involving Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning, both of whom exposed classified government information. Each case demonstrates how such disclosures can embarrass and destabilize government and military operations. For Teixeira's case, the leak not only endangers lives but also strained international relations, as governments scramble to control the fallout. According to this article, U.S. prosecutors emphasized the gravity of Teixeira's actions, pointing to his knowledge of security protocols and the ongoing harm to national security interests. While Teixeira's defense argues that he did not intend to harm the United States and was primarily motivated by a desire to educate his friends, his actions reveal a broader issue: how easily sensitive data can be compromised by individuals with nefarious intent. Drawing on my career in intelligence, the oversight measures needed to prevent insider leaks must adapt to keep pace with digital advancements, especially given the potential for viral spread on social media platforms. Teixeira's case serves as a wake-up call for intelligence and military communities to reevaluate insider threat programs and strengthen security protocols around classified information. Looking ahead, we see more calls for legislative reforms or enhanced cyber defense measures to protect against such breaches. In our next story, we're examining a new report from Canada's Cyber Intelligence Agency, the Communications Security Establishment, or CSE, which revealed that Chinese state-backed hackers are pre-positioning within U.S. critical infrastructure networks. The article, titled China's Pre-Posting in U.S. Networks for a Potential Conflict, explains how these cyber activities could prepare China for a conflict scenario with the U.S. and impact Canada due to the interconnected nature of North American infrastructure. The CSE's report suggests that the People's Republic of China, or the PRC, is integrating cyber operations into its military planning, aiming to weaken the U.S. military's response and sow societal panic in case of a conflict. The report also warns that Canada is at risk, given its integrated systems with the U.S. sectors like transportation, energy, and telecommunication. Beijing's apparent strategy, known as pre-positioning, involves securing access to these networks in advance so they can be disrupted or controlled if the need arises. This is a concerning development from an intelligence standpoint, highlighting the critical role of cybersecurity and national security and revealing an escalating risk to North American infrastructure stability. China's increased cyber activities reflect a broader trend of state-sponsored cyber campaigns by global powers aiming to undermine adversaries without engaging in open conflict. CSE previously highlighted China's ongoing cyber operations targeting Canada's government networks, with Chinese state actors consistently maintaining access to critical systems for years. The tactics of Volt Typhoon, the hacking group purportedly responsible for these intrusions, marks a shift in China's strategy by targeting infrastructure that could cause widespread disruption, rather than solely focusing on intelligence gathering. This context parallels other historical events, such as Russian cyber operations against Ukraine and NATO countries, which focused on weakening infrastructure and creating social unrest. The article points to experts who describe China as the most significant cybersecurity threat to Canada, with CSE noting that China's cyber capabilities are expansive, aggressive, and aimed at espionage, surveillance, and potential attacks. According to the report, the Canadian government has taken measures to resolve known breaches in federal networks, but CSE's findings imply that China has dedicated extensive time and resources to learn about Canada's infrastructure. From an intelligence perspective, the covert pre-positioning of cyber assets can be viewed as an act of preparation mirroring traditional military positioning, but in a digital space, underscoring the need for robust, real-time cybersecurity defenses. In summary, the revelation of Chinese cyber pre-positioning highlights the urgent need for fortified cyber defenses in North America's critical infrastructure, as it could lead to widespread disruption in a crisis. Moving forward, we see further collaboration between Canada, the US, and allies to counter these rising threats and secure vital networks. Staying with national security issues in Canada, our next story discusses the latest developments in Canada's political landscape, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has instructed intelligence services to share foreign interference details with opposition leader Pierre Poilievre. The article, titled Trudeau Says He Asked Spy Agency to Share Information with Poilievre, covers the ongoing debate over foreign interference and Poilievre's decisions to forego a security clearance. During question period, Trudeau urged Canada's security services to find a way to brief Poilievre on foreign interference allegations, potentially even revealing specific names. Trudeau's decision comes in response to his recent testimony to an inquiry into foreign interference, where he acknowledged intelligence reports suggesting potential foreign influence on certain Conservative Party members. However, Poilievre has resisted obtaining a security clearance, which would allow him to access classified information but restrict public disclosure. Trudeau's approach raises questions about transparency in Canada's intelligence process and the politicization of security. Poilievre has argued that a security clearance would prevent him from openly discussing intelligence with the public, positioning the situation as a struggle between transparency and confidentiality. The tensions over foreign interference follow allegations that members of various Canadian political parties may be vulnerable to or engaged in foreign influence. Intelligence officials, including the Canadian Security Intelligence Service Director Dan Rogers, has noted that it's crucial for party leaders to understand foreign interference threats in detail to protect their members effectively. While CSIS typically shares intelligence with security-cleared officials, they are now exploring alternative mechanisms to communicate potential risks to Poilievre if he continues without clearance. CSIS's Dan Rogers reinforced that informed leadership is essential to countering foreign influence, suggesting that party leaders need insights into specific threats to act effectively. According to intelligence experts, foreign interference attempts are increasingly sophisticated, targeting political figures to sway policies or gather sensitive information. Drawing from intelligence best practices, this situation underlines the challenge that democratic leaders face in balancing the need for secrecy and intelligence with public accountability. Canada's efforts to address foreign interference underscores the growing importance of political transparency to secure communication channels. As the debate over security clearances continue, it reflects the broader dilemma faced by democratic institutions in safeguarding against foreign influence without compromising public trust. For our last story this week, we'll be covering a rare insight into Australia's Foreign Intelligence Agency, the Australian Security Intelligence Service, or ASIS. ASIS Director General Kerry Hartland recently addressed the challenges posed by advanced surveillance technology and the agency's unprecedented investments to keep pace with these developments. The article, titled "ASIS Boss Says Her Organization is Making Unprecedented Investments to Beat Advancing Surveillance Technology," explores Hartland's comments on the balance between technology and human intelligence. During her speech to students at ANU's National Security College, Hartland described the dual impact of technology and espionage. While advancements in artificial intelligence and machine learning enhance capabilities, they also present new threats to ASIS agents operating abroad, where intense scrutiny from state and non-state actors is prevalent. To counter these pressures, ASIS is investing heavily in advanced technical skills, recruiting experts to ensure their agents can navigate the complex surveillance landscape. Hartland underscored the continued importance of human intelligence, emphasizing the irreplaceable role of person-to-person interactions in gathering insights. While technology can streamline data collection, Hartland highlighted that humans who can read between the lines remain essential for decoding true intentions. This approach aligns with ASIS's mission to provide Australian policymakers with unique, actionable intelligence. ASIS's recent budget allocation reflects the organization's focus on modernization, with nearly $469 million committed to technological advancements over the next 4 years. Notably, this public outreach is unusual for ASIS, which generally avoids media exposure. Security expert Chris Taylor from the Australia Strategic Policy Institute noted that Hartland's openness may be aimed at fostering social understanding of ASIS's mission, especially as Australia's geopolitical challenges intensify. Taylor remarked that Hartland's comments offered unprecedented insight into ASIS's operational approach, a sign of shifting norms in intelligence agencies worldwide as they adapt to technological and societal changes. Similar shift in transparency have been observed in intelligence agencies in the UK and the US, underscoring a global trend toward balancing secrecy with public awareness. ASIS's investment in technology and focus on human intelligence reflects the evolving demands of modern espionage. Director General Hartland's comments showcase ASIS's commitments to staying ahead in a competitive intelligence landscape while ensuring that human expertise remains at the core of their operation. Well, that's going to wrap it up for another episode of Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up. As always, the stories and their links are available in the show notes. This episode is airing on November 1st, 2024, so I hope all my listeners had a safe and fun Halloween. Try not to steal too much of the candy from the little ones. I want to let everyone know that I'll be giving away some exclusive Global Intelligence Knowledge Network hats and mugs. If you'd like to be considered for the swag, leave a comment about one of the stories in this week's episode. I'll be choosing some random listeners' comments to highlight in the next show. Thanks for your support, and until next week, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Global Intelligence Weekly Wrap-Up. Every episode is crafted with extensive research and analysis to keep you up to date on the fast-changing world of intelligence, espionage, foreign interference, and terrorism. It's a deep commitment to making sure you're informed, aware, and prepared for the complexities of global security. If you found today's insights valuable, please take a moment to leave a comment, hit the like button, and share this podcast with others in your network. It's your engagement that helps us reach more listeners and continue delivering these high-level analyses every week. As always, Neil encourages you to stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe. If you're eager for even more expert insights, be sure to visit our website, the Global Intelligence Knowledge Network. This is your resource for everything from in-depth articles and blogs to intelligence terminology and profiles of international organizations. We'll be back next week with more in-depth analysis you won't want to miss. Thank you for being part of our intelligence network.